Hello and welcome to Discovering Grayslake, unveiling the stories and people that make our town so unique. I'm your host, David Wool, and I'm thrilled to bring you this new podcast that explores fascinating stories and experiences of local business owners and community leaders, right here where we call home. It's time to unleash your style with custom shirts. Explore endless possibilities with Jammin' Tees. Whether it's for school, business, team, or events, Jammin' Tees has you covered, literally, for all your custom apparel needs. Hey there, Grayslake. Looking for a good time right in the heart of our awesome community? Well, look no further than the Grayslake Village Center, your one-stop destinations for all things fun and fabulous. Picture this. Historic downtown vibes with a mix of diverse businesses, shopping galore, and restaurants that'll make your taste buds dance. But that's not all. The Village Center is where the action is, with events happening year-round for the whole family. Take a stroll through Central Park, Gelatin Park, surrounded by trails, green spaces, and more activities than you can shake a sledding hill at. And when the weather warms up, dive into the Grayslake Aquatic Center for some splash-tastic fun. But wait, there is more. Visit GrayslakeVillageCenter.com to discover the incredible lineup of events happening every month. Want the 411 delivered straight to your inbox? Sign up for the Grayslake Village Center digital newsletter on the website or check out their Facebook page for the latest happenings. Be in the know. Not sure what you're waiting for? Come on down, soak in the local vibes, and enjoy the experience that's unmistakably Grayslake. Grayslake Village Center, where the fun never stops.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Discovering Grayslake. I am here yet again at Agora on the corner of Atkinson and we're at Atkinson Center Street. I think that's where we're at.
Right.
Yeah, so Luke, thank you very much for letting us have some space to record. It means a lot to us. So Agora is a sponsor of the show, and we really appreciate them. So if you're looking for a spot to get out of the house, to have an office for a day, for a week, or for any extended time, come talk to Luke. He'll help you out with any of your needs. So today I have the pleasure to have Mr. Mike Ellis with me. How are you, Mike?
Good, how are you?
I'm excellent. Okay, so I've been after you for a while.
We've been going back and forth for a while.
For sure, and I may or may not have dropped the ball. That's kind of my MO sometimes. So Mike is our village manager. That is your title.
Correct.
Today. How long have you been the village manager?
Since 1987.
87. Okay, so first thing I hear, we have a mutual friend, Mr. Billy Cornett.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of mutual friends.
Right.
So the first thing when I was talking to Billy, and I said, oh, cool, the village manager, because me, like a lot of people, we don't understand. I don't understand. I don't want to speak for everyone, of what our officials in our town do. And I know that yours is a big job. I got to talk to the mayor, and it sounds like everything that the mayor is in charge of, basically, you get to facilitate that.
That's correct. My job is to take care of carrying out the policies of the village board, the ones that they approve and adopt or direct, and take care of the day-to-day operations of the village, make sure that what services we provide are done effectively and efficiently along the way.
Gotcha. Okay, so you've had a long history. You just don't jump in and be village manager. So let's jump back to how long you've been involved in all kinds of things like this, and how you get started on your way to be in Grayslake for this amount of time.
Sure. I mean, I grew up in Wisconsin, so central Wisconsin, so I'm a longtime Packer fan. So I came to Illinois to go to college down at Bradley University. So when I was down here, met a lot of people from Chicago. So after college, I spent 1 year in law school, and while I was here, I met a lot of more people here, so got to like Chicago. So after working in Peoria for their Economic Development Council, I applied for the job here at Grayslake out of a small ad in the Chicago Tribune back in and they had ads in the classified section back then.
That's cool.
It was a little ad. I found out later from people that it was the cheapest ad they could get. That's what they said at the time. So I happened to see it, and I applied for it, and that was in 1984, and that was an economic development job. It was the first one that they had, and I started with that in July of 1984. So.
Wow. Okay, so when you're studying at Bradley, what was with your studies, what did you want to do? I'm sure that economic development probably wasn't like, I'm going to go to school for that.
I don't even know if they even had that kind of course of study back then. In terms of study, really, I had a lot of fun in college. That's what people know. But you don't know when you're in college that you're supposed to have fun because you don't know what's coming up. But I studied political science, and there was a public administration aspect to that curriculum too. So I always kind of wanted to be in local government or government in some kind. I did apply for a couple of jobs at the state of Illinois too, and waited for job offers, and when they came 2 or 3 at a time. So I selected this one, and I've been here ever since.
Wow. Okay, so coming in, who was there wasn't a village manager in Grayslake before you were here, is that correct?
Correct. There was no village manager before. I was the assistant village manager before I was the village manager, even though there wasn't one.
You're the assistant to no one.
To no one, that's right. Well, the mayor at the time, Mayor Schroeder, said I was working for him, so which everybody in the village did at that time.
Gotcha. So how many mayors in our town have you seen?
5 mayors.
Mayors.
That's the 5th one, right?
Right.
Every one of them is a little different than all the others. It's kind of interesting. You would think people would look for the same kind of person, the voters would look, but they've really, each one of them were different from each of the others. Not some commonalities, but differences in personality and outlook. It's been interesting.
Awesome. So taking that position, I know that there's been a lot of changes in Grayslake since you've started. Like a lot of big things that have happened since the 80s.
It's a different place, right?
Yeah. So population at that time,
5,000 people.
5,000. What are we at now?
21,000 and a few more. Yep.
Wow. So with that change in population comes a lot of different things that our community needs, and then there's a lot of different resources that we need.
Yes, I mean, there's probably, to a certain degree, this was going to happen sooner or later, just by the map. Mm-hmm. So growth was occurring down to the south of us when I had gotten here, and so the community hadn't really started to grow until mid-'80s. Subdivisions that we now call West Trail were being built, and right when I got here, or started to be built right after I got here. And then really not a lot happened, a little bit until about 1990 or so. And then a lot of the neighborhoods that you see now were really developed between 1990 and about 2005. So most of the growth occurred in those 15 years.
Right. And looking back, because I've lived here my whole life, I lived in Avon on the Prairie.
Okay, sure.
So we were the single block subdivision, and there was nothing to either side, and there was nothing from Center Street all the way over.
Yep, that's when I got here. They were there. Avon on the Prairie was there. There wasn't anything east of Atkinson Road really, except the fairgrounds.
Right.
And so a little bit to the north of you at Stratford on Avon was there, just started.
Right.
Other than that, there was really nothing out there. People used to go to the telephone company building, and that's as far as you go.
Right. Our neighborhood was not hard to find at that point.
Out in the middle of there.
Now everybody's like, which one do you live in? Now, what was known as the only one there, now no one knows it as that.
Right, exactly. Doesn't have a sign on it. That's how old it is.
This is very true. I'm old school.
Right.
Yes.
That's good.
So what do you remember back, like what was one of the big first major decisions or things that had to be made as the growth happens in Grayslake?
Grayslake, are you ready for some nonstop fun with the Grayslake Park District? Hundreds of classes, programs, community events, all designed to keep those smiles shining. Explore over 240 acres of parks, each a playground of excitement. Safety is their priority, ensuring a good time for all ages. From kids to the young at heart, the Grayslake Park District has something for everyone. Grab your seasonal program guide for memories that'll last a lifetime. Your adventure begins with the Grayslake Park District, where fun knows no limits.
Hello, Grayslake. It's Randy Cashmore with Cashmore Financial Group. It's no secret that I love our village, and a big reason for that is my membership with the Grayslake Chamber of Commerce. If you haven't taken a look at the Grayslake Chamber lately, you should. We're a wonderful group of business people creating a positive difference in the village we call home. Reach out and get involved today.
Well, a lot of the farms here were in a long time. Local families had a lot of ground under their names, and so they started to change generations. People moved, passed on, so their families started to want to get rid of the farms. So the main thing that needed to be done when this happened was, one, have a plan for it. And the mayors in the 80s, Ed Schroeder and Mara Smith, were big on making sure we had plans in place. So I would say that's the first thing you have to make sure you do. That's utility plans or land plans or road plans, different things, so that when you get people requesting development of vacant land, that you have a way to plug the pieces together. And all the pieces came together really in a 2 or 3 year period. Places like English Meadows or Chesapeake Farms or College Trail or Hunter's Ridge, Harry Ann Farm, those were all kind of approved 1990 to 1993 or 4. So that's most of the growth that occurred in the community in those years. So
it was a lot at once.
Happened all at once. And so we had to negotiate developer agreements with people along the way. And so as usual, developers want as many houses as they can get.
Absolutely.
And the village board and village as a whole kind of didn't really want to grow as much as They could have grown with a maximum development, so we wanted to negotiate the development densities downward. So we could have been closer to 40,000 people, but people were saying, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, that's kind of where we kind of thought we wanted to be. Our comprehensive plans say that, and that's kind of where we ended up.
Wow, so I guess I never thought of that those decisions kind of controlled the population of Grayslake.
They did. As it turned out, yes, and particularly in those few years. Right. We could have been much larger because of zoning that was already put on the property, so they could have grown to much larger, much more dense, more multifamily. Again, the community kind of wants to emphasize single-family homes. That's the emphasis. That's what we've ended up with. So I guess the answer, again, is that we have a plan. We really stuck with it and in the negotiations and developments, and we have a plan now. We're sticking with that one as we go.
Cool. I guess my obvious question that comes up first is, how does that population boom all really happen at once? What was so appealing about, why Grayslake?
I think we were on the map, so it just was the next place. I mean, some other communities, Mundelein, Libertyville, Vernon Hills had kind of started before us, Gurnee to a certain extent, were all happening at about the same time here. And that's, I think, more the map than anything. I think Grayslake had a certain appeal to it. When I got here, certainly 5,000 people, but it was a good community, a solid community. The neighborhoods that were already here were good. People were active and interested back then. So there was a certain appeal to it, and we weren't going to give up on the standards either. So perhaps we could have grown a little earlier than that, but we held out to the standards that we had in our ordinances and said, when you're ready to build them this way, we're here.
Excellent. Okay, so I know that one of the big things that I wanted to talk to you about that I know you have a big hand in is our water.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to talk about our water and kind of, if people don't know about it, maybe educate them on how that whole thing happened, what was the need for it, and how good it actually is, because I don't think people understand.
Yeah, we have simply the best quality water on the planet. There isn't any better than lake water.
That's a big statement.
And being that close to it is a real advantage for the whole region, including Grayslake. In terms of us getting it, we run well water when I got here. But back then in the early 80s, before I got here, there was a group of towns that were organizing to try to plan and see if they could bring Lake Michigan water to the communities out here. By the time I got here in 84, we were dealing with looking at those plans and looking at the options. Then we formed a water agency. It's called Central Lake County Joint Action Water Agency. You wouldn't know if you're a resident of Grayslake if that necessarily exists, because you're billed for your water by the village of Grayslake, and that includes the charges that come from the water agency. The agency then designed and built the system, and it started serving us in 1992, and we've had Lake Michigan water ever since. The whole thing, to build all of that, which includes intake pipe out in the lake and pump stations and the treatment plant in Lake Bluff and all the water main and water lines that connect all the communities, about 200 and some thousand people originally, or not now. They weren't here then, but they are here now. That all was built for about $100 million back then.
Wow.
Lake Zurich is now wanting to get into the agency now, and their cost to get in will be $154 million just for Lake Zurich. So people acted correctly back then to get the water and the price, and we're getting the benefit of the pricing because we got in there very early.
Right. So not only do we have the best water, but those plans laid ahead financially for our town.
Turned out that way. It's hard to believe when you pay your water bill, but it's pretty inexpensive compared to what it could have been. So,
right.
But it's a good supply of water. But we also had to deliver the water. The water comes from the agency to a pump station on Center Street, and from there, there's a storage facility there that's underground that has over almost 5 million gallons stored underground there. And then that's pumped out into our system.
You say 5 million gallons.
5 million gallons.
Wow.
Right. And so that's stored there for emergency needs or firefighting, but mostly it's where the water comes in from the agency, and then it's pumped out into the community, and it's pumped out in the village's water system. And that's a bit of a story as well. We have replaced all of our water lines in the community, almost all of them. The town's 125 years old, so we managed to replace it all in the 90s. Using general money. We didn't charge it on the water rates. We were able to replace it all. So, when a lot of towns in the country are struggling to find ways to fund their infrastructure, our old infrastructure is basically replaced. So did all that at the same time we were getting our lake water. So now the system's in very good shape, and not as much demand to need to add or replace or or repair the system as we go. So it's good, and that took village boards making decisions to actually go through the process of setting aside the money and doing the work, and then putting up with the construction. People that were here during the 90s and saw the construction in the existing neighborhoods, it was a tough go. A lot of messes were created trying to get the water mains replaced, but they're in now and replaced, and so people don't really recognize it. Water is one of those things that people expect, and they turn their faucet on and it's there. Once in a while it's not. It's like any other thing, like your electric or your cable, or things go out on occasion. It's no different with water systems, but it's a pretty good system.
Wow. So it took some what I would consider visionaries at that point to really look forward and see, like you're saying, planning for the future.
Mm-hmm. And stick with it. Stick with the planning, and keep working on it, and don't deviate from it. The boards, all the different board members, that came and went over the years I've been here, they all understood it, stayed with it. The mayors were obviously leaders. Ed Schroeder, the mayor was here when I got here, was really a leader in the water agency formation as well. So Grayslake was kind of a leader back then. I think we are kind of now. I'm still on the executive committee there, so I'm the last one that was here when we actually sold the bonds. I was here to see all the bonds, original bonds, sold off for the water agency. So
wow. And speaking of bonds, I know that I've spoken with a couple people in our community that how important it is that decision, making sure that we are one of the only debt-free communities around, and what is the percentage of that? Because it seems like we're one of the only.
Yes, if you're over, I think somebody said the comptroller of Illinois a couple, 3 years ago said there were only 2 communities over 4,000 people that were debt-free. That was us and Fox River Grove out west. And so it's not common because communities, I guess, desire to want things, and so they borrow the money. They need the money immediately to do it. So they borrow the money. There's nothing wrong with it, really, if you have to do it or there's an opportunity that presents itself. But we've been able to become debt-free. We paid off the last of our bonds for that water reservoir I spoke of in 2008 or 9. And so we have a pay-as-you-go process with our community improvements. So we haven't had to borrow. That way we don't have to pay the bank. We don't have to pay the extra juice for the money.
Right.
So we get more projects done because we're not paying for early access to money. Right. That takes a lot of planning.
It does. I talked to the mayor about that too, and it was funny to hear his answer. So why, besides the financial state, for homeowners that are here, why is that so important to be debt-free?
The money that you're paying to the village is going to services, or it's going to improvements. It's not going to finance a debt from somebody that you borrowed the money for. So if you're paying a third more on your debt, take any project you're doing, you have to pay a third more. So people get more projects, they get more improvements, and the cost of the services are less.
Right. And I think the mayor also stated that, this is for generations to come, that we're actually helping out, my kids or grandkids or anybody that lives here, that pays it forward for that with excellent planning.
Absolutely does. And with the things that we've been putting, particularly our capital money in, the things we've been putting our money in is our long-term infrastructure investments. So they'll take care of people for a very long time. And we haven't had to go to people for property tax increases. A lot of communities around here go for property tax increases for roads, say as an example. You have roads you have to repair and then you can't set aside money for it. In our case, we have a plan for all of our roads to be resurfaced on a regular rotation, and we fund it with existing streams of revenue, so we haven't had to go for the voters. So when you have a good plan, you can reduce the cost to people, and then when in the long term that the infrastructure's, there's a plan for it, it can be maintained, it can be taken care of.
Right. And obviously one of the biggest complaints of every homeowner in Grayslake is our taxes.
Of course.
And how high our taxes are. But without that planning, our taxes would be even higher.
They would be even higher. Correct.
Okay, so we've covered water because that was one of the important things. I'm sure that story we could talk about for 3 hours.
It's a good story. I like those stories.
Yeah, because it's something that actually really made a difference. Mm-hmm. I want to talk on one topic. We've talked about some road resurfacing and road projects that are going, which we'll cover a little bit of. I want to talk about I don't even know how to. The landfill, the dump.
Yes.
So
the sanitary landfill.
The sanitary landfill. We just always called it the dump.
Yes, right.
So what do you play in that, and what's happening with that? And I understand that pretty soon that it's going to be full, right?
Correct. Yes, it's the landfill is really a regional facility, and particularly for Lake County, because Lake County, the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County, has capacity in that landfill for everybody here. Because when you drag your can to the curb, we pick it up, and then it's got to go somewhere. We can't just throw it in a ditch or throw it in a creek. It has to go somewhere. It has to be taken care of. So they have capacity in that landfill. So there's a need for the landfill generally for all of us.
Right.
In that case, it was ARF landfill. We called it ARF at the time.
I remember.
And
People called it barf.
Yep, and you could smell it pretty much all over town.
Right, a good August afternoon.
Yeah, and so I was here when we did the negotiation on an expansion of that, but in return for that, they didn't close it up like we all guess would prefer, but you were here, Dave, so you know it was really a giant brown mountain, and it had fire coming out of the top and was leaking out of the bottom. It smelled. So in order to get that fixed, in return for an expansion that Lake County needed, we put some standards on the operation of it, the hours of it, what could go in, what couldn't be disposed of there, no hazardous waste, a bunch of different things like that. We stipulated a lot of things. So in return for that, there's some extra capacity. That's going to run out. It's estimated in 26. Maybe it'll go a little bit longer, but we're getting close to the end. And there's an end-use plan for it, which is required by the permit originally. Mm-hmm. So that is overlooks and trails and things that'll be there when it's done. And will take some time to build once they close, but that's the plan for it. And I think it'll happen the way it's been permitted to. Maybe a little adjusting here and there, but generally that's what I think it's going to be.
Right, so overlooks and trails.
Yes, you'll be able to walk up there. Some places have golf courses, on them, and other people have ski hills and things. This is going to be more of trails and stuff, which is kind of keeping with what we do here. A lot of trail systems here, a lot of trail program we have here is pretty unique in the region in terms of how our trails really interact with our neighborhoods, not just along major roads and routes. So again, that was the plan in 1989 to build that. So here we are. We now have it. So it kind of works with that. And the design of it is not, if you go to a landfill, you'll see a lot of them. You can drive down a highway and you'll see them. They're kind of flat-topped, and you can look. And so here, it's all designed to kind of fit into the landscape better, varying heights and things. So it won't, when all the landscaping matures on it, it won't look like a landfill when it's done. So
that's really cool. These are you've mentioned two things that I guess me as just a normal person, like I don't pay any attention to what's going to happen with the dump or what it's going to be. And your mentions of the trails, that I think about how the trails interweave through the neighborhoods and some very good walking paths.
Yes.
So you don't have to drive somewhere to go find one. There's usually one in your neighborhood that connects with somewhere else.
They have this deal people call 15-minute city, and it's kind of a new planning thing here now that people want to find alternatives to the automobile for sustainability and other purposes. And so we really kind of were doing that in the 90s when the community was built. And there's another advantage. When you have all the pieces kind of coming at the same time, you can piece them together a little better.
Right.
So, we've really built the system here. We're kind of a 15-minute city. You can get on your bike if you're in English Meadows, and in a few minutes you're in the village center. So it's really kind of worked out that way. There's still some more work to do on it. We want to extend it down south. Obviously, the landfill will be another piece of it. So there's still work. There's always work to be done. But, it's a great system. People like it, and they use it. It's great.
That's awesome. And speaking of all the trails, I've got to speak to a couple individuals. If somebody hasn't heard the other episodes, is the new walkway and boardwalks and everything from across from where Duggan sits.
Right, the nature trail.
Is that what it's called, the nature trail?
Village Center Nature Trail, yes.
Yes. So maybe you can speak of some of the challenges that you've had with that and what the idea is of the outcome of that.
The idea is to have a passive pedestrian area, boardwalks and paths, revitalized and renewed wetlands and other natural features in the area so people can walk through there, stand and look and be in nature, even though you're right in the village center. That's the idea. It's a series of paths that we're doing phase 1 this year. Did phase 1 starting last year and we'll go into this year. There's another phase of it that the board's approved to be constructed this summer. And we have one extra phase left to go, and I expect the board's going to go ahead and approve the third one. That should be done next year. For money, we don't want to borrow the money, so we're taking it as we can go. Yeah, we've had some trouble getting it started. We had some trouble getting a hold of the land.
Right.
It took us 2 or 3 years to get a hold of the land. Finally did that. And now we were ready to build, and there's a bat there that is meeting there at a certain time of year. It makes it harder for it to get started in a normal construction season. So this year, because the bat was there, we couldn't start until late in the fall.
Wow. Now, who finds that?
You have to do a survey as part of the
Really?
permitting. Yeah, you have to survey the wildlife and archaeological things. You have to look for any, Native American stuff that might be in the soils. You have to do that for pretty much any kind of land development. So when we encounter these, or at least the manuals or the studies say they're there, you have to work around them.
Right, and am I correct in saying that was, you have to wait till it's like hibernation season
Yes.
to work?
Yes, so when it wasn't in the season where they're active.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So is there one bat there? Is there
I don't know.
multiple bats?
Well, we've never actually seen the bat. So people say that the bat exists there somewhere. So I don't know how that's going to affect our construction schedule this year. I don't know if we're going to have to take another look or do another study or what. Because like everything else, things don't stay static. They move on. So we'll see.
Is it going to be called like Long-Eared Bat Park?
Maybe we're going to put up some sort of display on those bats so people can know they were here.
Right. Okay. So I know that there'll be an entrance to the path, like over on the Center Street side of things. Mm-hmm. Will that connect to another neighborhood or back by J.C. Park or somewhere through there? I can just imagine like where it goes.
Yeah, it's really supposed to be self-contained within that site that we bought. It's about 25 acres or so. Okay. But yes, there is a plan. The board asked for a study of that, particularly a new study on how we can make better use of Mill Creek that runs through the community in a path and pedestrian area. So we just finished that study, and the board reviewed it just this Saturday, last Saturday, so the other day. And so we have a trail plan now going south to J.C. Park and over to Route 120 is one of the initial paths that could go in. So
all the way to 120.
Yes. Yeah. So over by Strang Funeral Home. So it takes time to permit all that and think about it, and they've got to find the money for these things. But they put it on our list of projects. So yeah, we'll tie to something eventually. And then of course, once you get up into Center Street, you can get into the whole pedestrian system. You go pretty far north, but there are gaps along the creek where we could place other paths that will increase the connectivity of all the different paths we already have. Wow. So that's the idea.
Yeah, and that brings value to our community, obviously, because of just how wonderful everything is in our town, and how everything connects from outside activities to.
Yes.
And hopefully just get the kids another place to, like you said, the 15-minute city, that's going to make another big thing, that everybody can get everywhere they need to go.
That's kind of the idea. Everything we do, since particularly Mayor Taylor's been in office, we've been trying to work on improvements to the community that improve property values long term. Certainly we had 2008, 2009 where we had a decline in property values, but those have all recovered and then some now. So we think the product is the community. And so when we make the community better, people who might want to buy a home here are willing to pay more for your home because the community is of a quality that we want it to be. So we hope that works. And these kind of projects are all things that do all that. So as we keep adding things along the way, like in the Village Center, we keep spending on things, spending some funds on the Village Center to make it what it's become. And it's like the centerpiece. It is the centerpiece of the community. The real estate people say when they want to sell a house here, the first thing they do is drive through downtown Grayslake, show people the Village Center. It's a real jewel that we have that a lot of towns, a lot of suburbs wish they had.
Absolutely, yes, because most of the things that, when we drive somewhere, either that's a very little downtown that happens, or it doesn't seem like there's anything. There's just big business everywhere, and traffic is crazy. And I think that it's kind of hidden and tucked back between all these major roads, but it still has a really nice downtown
That's
feel.
why I think it's a little different than maybe some of the others. You don't have as much traffic going through it, so you have a lot of activity in a small area because you don't have to set aside area for the automobile. So you can really make a more pedestrian-friendly, more cohesive, small program. It wasn't always this way here. When I came here in '84, the downtown was really going downhill because of the advent of shopping centers and Lakehurst Mall over in Waukegan.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Taking all the retail out of town.
Isn't that funny?
Now it's gone.
Yeah, right.
Well, Grayslake is still here, and the mall is gone. Right. So what can I tell you?
And they have a casino now.
Yes,
so
they do.
Shows how our world really works, right?
Right. You've been here long enough to know.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what do you think out of all these years you've been here? Because there's been a lot of improvements and a lot of economic development. What has been the most satisfying for you, or do you have a project that you're the most proud of that's happened that you've had a hand in?
I would say it's the water agency project, and both getting it built and then keeping it going and being part of the team that's kept it going all these years. It's really the state of the art. It's the highest recognized agency along Lake Michigan. So I would say that's the one because it affects everybody every day.
Right.
Probably I would say that one, along with the water infrastructure. I mean, it's not the one that maybe people recognize or notice, but it's I would say that's the most important one we've done here over my years.
I want to jump back to the dump really quick too. Does that bring any revenue to Grayslake?
It does. It's part of the deal in negotiating for the extension I spoke of. We're what's called an impacted community, even though the dump is technically not inside the village limits. We were the impacted community as determined by the Solid Waste Agency, so we were entitled to some sort of monetary contribution. So yeah, over the years, it's probably contributed, I would say, between $700,000 and $1 million a year to things in the community. And when we started that, we had a group of taxing districts that sat down and determined to allot some of this money to things that weren't necessarily village projects, but were projects that would assist the districts. So given the districts didn't have to spend the money on those projects, then the property tax didn't have to pay for that. So those are things like Frederick Road that you see was one of them.
Yeah.
The firehouse over on Graylock Road was one. The improvements at the signalization at Lake and Hillside Avenue right by the high school.
Yeah.
So another one. There's a bunch of these that were done to help other districts and what their mission was. So that ended up being about half of the funds went to those sort of projects. So those have all been done. So now we're into the business of doing some more things that may end up helping districts. Here's an example. The Hillside parking lot was one that had cleaned up an environmentally hazardous place, but also created parking for Central Park and the high school.
Right.
So a lot of those kind of things. The road going in for, Library Lane was built with that. So Library District got some books for their collection. There's a lot of different projects that went out of that landfill money over the years.
Wow.
It was kept for capital improvements. It wasn't used for operations.
Unbelievable.
It was good. It was the right thing to do.
I'm glad I asked that question because I like to be educated as well. To go, wow, I guess I never thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
So moving to the future, do you have a project that that you guys are either working on now or plans are being laid that you're really excited about that's going to make a big difference?
Really, any of the projects we're doing are good ones. So no, I don't really have a real favorite one or one that's more important than the others. The creek thing I just spoke of is new, so I think it's important. Anything we do in the village center is very important because it's really it's the center of the community. It's our focal point. So, but again, they're all the projects. What we have now is really a whole bunch of projects, little projects, not a lot of big ones, just a lot of projects going on at it all the time, adding and improving along the way. So no, I don't really have anything that I would say is the one that's going to be the one that's going to make the main difference.
Right. And we always talk about roads too.
Mm-hmm.
So I was giggling with Rhett saying that it's funny how all these road improvement projects, they come through, but they work so slowly sometimes that you don't even remember how things were because it wasn't like, this project takes 2 months and then you wake up and then the roads are redone.
Yes.
So it must be a constant battle for that.
That's a real frustration in this very slow process that is needed in order to get funding for the major projects. The major roads around here are not under the jurisdiction of the village. They're under the jurisdiction of the state of Illinois or Lake County. So we work with everybody to try and get things improved. It takes a long time. The project you're seeing down at 137 now in Ivanhoe, that was designed in 2000. So that's how long it takes. The Atkinson extension was a village project, so of course that was done. We were able to get funds for that from the federal government, and we built it and we waited.
So we've gotten this far.
Right. You do your part now.
Really?
Finally, the state's been able to get there and do it. So it's a real hard process of doing that. And so most of the roads now, the county's done a great job on the county roads, Peterson and Rollins and Washington Street. They've done a great job really adding to the capacity of their roads. The state's okay. They did Route 45 here. They did some stuff on 137. Now this project. So yes, 120 is the neglected sister here of our road system, and we're just pushing and prodding to get them to do more designs now, which is the first step.
Right.
Is real tough. I mean, they've got demands all across the state. So not everybody's got just what we have, but in the metropolitan area, there's always needs for more roads. So It's just there's a resource question, and then trying to get your stuff prioritized and put in the system. So the things we've been working on they're not imminent to construction.
Right. Yeah, I look back at especially one of my favorite road projects that were done in Grayslake were having the train go over on Washington Street.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, or the road go underneath.
Right.
But for traffic wise, that was a huge project.
Mm-hmm. Lake County Department of Transportation project.
Yeah.
So yes, we worked with them, cooperated with them. Interesting, there's a water agency there, had to move their water lines to get out of the way, so it takes some of that intergovernmental work too that has to go on for that one. But that's great. Now you can always, if you can get there. My wife leaves the house. She goes right to Washington Street because she doesn't want to take a chance. She's going to get stopped by the trains.
We have a thing because I have a 19-year-old, and I always say when I'm pulling and coming west on 120,
Mm-hmm.
I said whatever chance you have to get across the tracks to get into town, you take that one first. If there's
Yes.
no train at 120, you get over it.
Yes.
Otherwise, if there's any issue, you have any problems, you go to Washington Street.
Right.
So the train adds a giant different dynamic to roadways, especially for us to get around.
Everybody's got the dynamic in the region. A lot of people. Anywhere you got railroads. Chicago's is a railroad hub. So a lot of suburbs are dealing with the stuff we have. We have a pretty unique situation, we think here. At least that's what we say to people trying to get funding for some additional help with it. We've got a series of intersections in close proximity. So here there's a section of double track that causes trains to stop and wait while other trains pass in the other direction. So they're blocking a lot of these intersections at one time. So we've tried to tell people we need another place for these trains to stop and wait. So the railroad, us and Mayor Taylor particularly worked hard on this, is trying to get the communities from here to the north to Antioch to support a double track installation to the north of Washington Street. If we can get that between Washington and Hook Drive, trains could stop there, and it would minimize road blockages. Now, at that time we did it, which was 2018, 2019, the cost of that was $15 million, so it's a lot of money.
Wow.
So we don't have the funds, so we've gotten sort of a handshake from the railroad that they'd be willing to fund that now. So now, just like on the roads, we're going to keep pressing to get them to do it. But when that won't stop it, but it will reduce the instances of it. So there is a solution.
Yeah, because I love to hear all the complaints, because now doing the show I get to hear,
You're right.
I get to hear a lot of people complain where I'm like, hey, I don't have anything to do with this.
I'm late, so I just got stopped by the train. Everybody nods their head. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So it's not something that people should be irritated with Grayslake for. There's a lot of other things that go into it.
Yes, there are, and it's not. Other communities have a lot of the same situations. And ours is, as I said, just kind of unique, which we're hoping will get the attention of the people we need to get the attention of. And Lake County's put it on their transportation plan now too, so we've got good support from our fellow communities and Lake County, so that will help, I think, with the railroad.
Yeah, we always giggle too, because somebody asked, well, how long are these podcast episodes? And I said, well, they're about as long as a Grayslake train.
Right.
Some might be kind of short, and some that just might be at a standstill and take an hour.
And since I'm here, probably too long.
Right.
Like the train.
Sometimes. All right, so I'm not sure how many episodes you listen to, but at this point of the show, we take a little break, and we do something I call the Grayslake Hot Seat.
Right.
So I have some rapid-fire questions for you.
Oh, you got them all written down there.
Yeah, I have a ton of them. It's funny that I always fall back on some of the same ones, because I think that helps us get to learn more about an individual. So I'm going to jump around here. So I'm with Mike Ellis today on the Grayslake Hot Seat.
It's time for the Grayslake Hot Seat. The Grayslake Hot Seat today is brought to you by Premier Chiropractic. Dr. John, conveniently located in historical downtown Grayslake. Premier Chiropractic offers you a full range of chiropractic care. John is dedicated to treating people within our community and showing them the benefit of great, convenient, affordable chiropractic care. So if you're looking to get straightened out, go see Dr. John at Premier Chiropractic. Now for the Grayslake Hot Seat.
What's the last thing you purchased on Amazon?
You have to ask my wife that. She does all the purchases. So I can't. I don't purchase it. She takes care of that.
All right. That's good. Hopefully you get something out of that.
Right.
What was your first car that you ever had?
First car was a Chevy Monza.
I don't even know what a Monza is. I don't think.
I don't think they even exist anymore. So.
Do you know what year it was?
Oh boy, I was in college, so 1978 maybe.
All right. I bet it was a great color too.
Silver.
So, you got kind of lucky on that
Yeah.
one. Wow.
Had a hatchback. Nice.
Yeah, nice. That's a sexy car.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put that. I'm sure I know the answer to this, but you might have to say your favorite one. Have you ever won an award?
I'm not an award person, but yes, I just got a History Maker award from the Heritage Center Foundation a few months ago. So
Really?
that was the last one.
How cool is that?
It was great.
What does that entail? Like, what is that? Obviously.
You'd have to ask them. I couldn't believe it. I said, I can't believe somebody 30 years old can be a history maker, but go ahead, So, yeah, I guess you're people who contribute to the history of the village. It's done by the Heritage Center Foundation, and I think this is the third one that they've given in the last 3 years, so I was honored to get it.
Yeah, wow.
Unsurprised. I was very surprised about it.
Wow. Congratulations. It's a
Thanks.
big honor. What's your highest score in bowling?
About 160.
160 is still a good.
Don't ask my average. It's a lot lower.
Right. Hey, bartender, can I have a...
Tito's and tonic.
Yeah, all right. Love it. First concert you ever attended?
Foreigner.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's a good one.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, some people have some really lame ones, but Foreigner,
That's good.
I would like that. Tell me a place you'd like to travel that you've never been to.
Normandy.
Normandy? Why Normandy?
Well, the whole World War II story of Normandy and the cemeteries and stuff. I'm a history buff, so I'd just like to see that. I think it would be really, really something to see. Everybody I know that's gone said it's really, I don't know if the word is breathtaking, but awing.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes we don't understand what kind of small world we live in until
that's for sure.
we visit somewhere like that. Okay, who's the funniest person that you know?
That I know?
Yeah.
Oh boy, it's a tough one. I know a lot of funny people. I'm
one of them.
I'm going to say Tim Rafferty.
Tim Rafferty. He's a great man.
He's a funny guy.
And man, has he done
him a long time.
He's done a lot for our community.
He's one of those people that serves the community in lots of different ways, and he wouldn't. He's not on the front page. He doesn't want to be. He just wants to do his work. I've been on the summer days and festival cleanup crews with him over the years. We really just shovel a lot of crap in the garbage cans and the like with him. Oh yeah, we used to be the cleanup crew for a long time.
How do you get demoted to be the cleanup crew? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, if you want to help, you got to help wherever help is needed. So that's just, I don't know how I got kind of stuck with that. Maybe they thought I was perfectly suited for that. I don't know. Let's
just stick Mike on that one.
Yeah, someone's got to do something like that. So Rafferty and I have been doing it for a long time. I mean, many years.
Wow. Now he just won a big award. I was one of the chamber recognition things. So what do you remember? What award he won?
Yeah, it was he was leaving the chamber board. He'd been on the chamber board since the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. I was actually here when we talked him into getting on the chamber board. He had a chamber mixer at Rudolph's Furniture, and so we waited till he had a couple beers, and then we talked him into it. And the rest is history. He's been around all these years, and they were honoring him for that, as they should. He was also a village trustee for a while, and doing a lot of different things for that. He's just one of those guys who just served the community, not just in one way, but a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
This town has a lot of those people, not more than probably their share, I'd say.
Right. It's fun to look and see the people, and it's not a giant group of people that have really changed the face of our community that make it what it is today, and to make it continue to be that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that even for the first day I was here, the first day, one of the trustees at the time, who later became Mayor, Mar Smith, the first thing he did was introduce me to different people, and because there are people that were involved in the community at the time. And they stayed with that, and they were all doing different things. They might work for the village a little bit on a volunteer commission or one of the civic groups, or they might actually work on a school board, different things to help the community. There are a lot of people involved in it. I don't know if the numbers changed all that much, even though the population's changed. Right. The percentage of people early on were really involved, and there still are. What's interesting is people today, they tend to want to involve themselves in individual causes now. So they might take like the bachelor event.
Oh my gosh,
really
yes.
huge support for that.
Yeah.
Less so with the groups. So if people are listening out there and they want to help,
Right.
join one of the civic groups. Help out. They're a lot of fun. You meet a lot of good people when you do it, and you're doing good work for people.
Yeah, and probably a lot of like-minded people as well.
And they won't overwork you. Just volunteer for what you can volunteer for, and you'll get something out of it, believe me.
Most people have no idea what to do with their aging loved one who needs help. Well, there is a solution. A company that provides care and assistance to make your loved one feel right at home. At Right at Home, their mission statement is to improve the quality of life for those they serve. They offer extensive services: personal and companion care, safety supervision and transportation, fall prevention, dressing and bathing assistance, medical reminders, meal prep, hospice support, ambulation support, stroke recovery, Parkinson's support. The list goes on and on and on. If you have an aging loved one that needs help, call Right at Home. Most people prefer to age in their home rather than moving to an assisted living or nursing home. Right at Home can make this happen. Contact Right at Home at rightathomenlc.com or give them a call, 847-984-0103. Now back to the show.
Interesting. That's awesome. What do you wish you learned sooner?
Boy, I don't know. I didn't know anything for a long time, so I guess it's sort of a mass of information. I don't know any one particular thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I knew more about people when I was younger.
Okay.
I knew how to work with people, understand different kinds of people better.
Right.
So that took some learning over the course of time.
Yeah, because I'm sure every project you do, whether a different kind of personality you're working with or knowing what their goal or their motivations are to move forward.
I think all the people I've worked with are just in the village itself, and there's so many different people and so many different personalities. So you get better at working with the different personalities as time goes on. So earlier I could have learned that, the better probably.
Yes, I think that's a good lesson for everyone as well. Do you have a nickname?
Mike.
Good. With a
I can't repeat the other ones.
Or what we know of anyway, what people call us.
Right.
Which is probably better for us. Would the 12-year-old version of yourself think you're cool?
Probably not. No. But when I was 12, I didn't think I was cool either.
That's probably true too. Have you ever broken a bone?
Never broken a bone.
Wow. And I'm hoping you're gonna. I respect you, so I'm hoping that my respect continues here. Have you ever eaten a roller dog from a gas station?
Oh yeah.
Okay. See, everybody's missing out. And people say, "What is that?"
It's like the hot dogs in the airport. They're the best.
I'm telling you. See, now you've heard it from the man, the myth, the legend. So now go out and get a roller dog.
There you go.
1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
My wife says I'm too careful, so
okay.
I don't know if that. I'll say 7.
All right, good. Did you play a sport in high school or in a group?
I did play different sports. I played golf and basketball and football and soccer at different times.
Nice.
I wasn't any good in them, so I kept moving around.
Sometimes you just need to stick and move.
I never did really find any either. I tried.
I tried to tell my kids that joining a sport in high school or joining a group or a band is just the best way to make friends.
It is. But, like my dad used to say, really, when you're in high school, and that's for you to start working as an independent person and working with other people in team. It's not for me, your dad, that you do that. You do it for yourself.
Interesting. Okay, what is your favorite Grayslake event to attend, not to clean up after? If you
regrettably, they're kind of the same. I'd say summer days.
Summer days,
for sure, particularly the summer days parade.
See, I'm all about the parades.
Yeah,
I think
parades are cool.
It's really cool, and actually being in the parade is more fun to watch the entire community go and it goes on and on and on, and watch everybody gather.
I've been on the setup crew for a long time, and so I get to see the parade as it's going out of the parking lot.
Wow. So have you been pissed off at me before? With my
probably,
big black bus? And
probably. I've never. It's amazing how people sometimes just aren't real happy when they're getting ready to go on a parade. I don't get that. They want to be in a different place on the parade or whatever. It's funny. We had one politician one time who said, I'm going to be in your parade. I'm going to have a car in the parade. And we said, fine. We put you in the parade. We allot space for you. Mm-hmm. And he brought in 4 or 5 cars and a giant tractor and trailer. It was 3 or 4 times. I said, I'm never going to vote for that person. He may be perfectly good, but I'm not voting for him because he screwed up my parade lineup. So
right, and he didn't follow the rules.
He didn't follow it.
Yes. Nope. Sign up for 1 car and show up with a convoy.
Right. He got elected anyway. So.
But that's cool. I bet that's kind of fun to watch how the parade things come together.
It does. It's cool. I mean, and we used to be a lot harder because we had a specific order we had to put people in.
Really?
Yeah, and so because there was announcing going on at one place, so
Right.
you had a list, so you had to put them in order. That was a lot more challenging. Now it's not so bad. You just line them up as they come in.
So there's no more of that.
It's much easier now.
Yeah, I used to. Greg used to be the announcer for
Yes.
that.
Yes.
And because we were so-called competing DJs, I would always jump off the bus and go grab his microphone
Very
and
good,
make
very
sure that
good.
I got to do my
Very
own
good.
stuff. I'm kind of a shy guy, Mike. Just
Yeah,
indication.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, and I was for sure sober at all of the parades.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, I was following those
This is
rules.
very important.
Yes, and follow those rules.
I'm not sure it's always followed, but I'm glad you did.
Right. Yes, of course. And speaking of that, tell me about the second time you were arrested.
Never have. Still waiting for the first one.
Okay. Don't even say. Knock on something. Do you have a biggest fear?
Oh, fear. The next big storm in Grayslake.
Yes. Okay, we're ending our hot seat questions here. So thank you for that, because now
Yeah.
you brought up something that you wrote to me that I didn't put together, because we've had some significant events that have happened in Grayslake over even the last 20
Few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back. So for the obviously with the tornado.
The tornado, correct?
Which-
All these are since 2011. We've had the tornado.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember the wind inversion event we had.
Yeah. What is a wind inversion?
I don't. That's what they called it. It was
Okay.
a heck of a lot of wind all at once from a storm system that was started right here, and a huge wind. The sky was blue, and then it was dark as night. It blew through here in 15 minutes, and there was just carnage everywhere. Trees down everywhere, some roof damage, lots of things. Out of all of them, that's the worst damages we ever had was from
Really?
that short 15-minute event. Much worse than the tornado,
Really?
which came later.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to look back at that. Do you know what month that was?
That was in like July, I think.
Okay, because I'm sure it was a summer storm.
Yeah, it was a tough summer storm.
Wow.
Right.
And then we had all the rain.
Yeah, that was the most recent event. I think. Did that come before the tornado? I think it did. Yeah, that was 8 inches of rain or something like that in a few hours, and so nothing can really take that. We made in the places we expected to have drainage problems and water in basements. We had those are places built, in the 50s or earlier that didn't really have stormwater management. What was interesting to see, I've been here a long time, and we always said the floodplains here, they don't make any sense. There's never any water in these floodplains. Well, there was that day. So the
yes.
floodplains worked as they were designed to work. The federal government was correct in how they designated them, and it turned out to be correct. We've kept them free of development over the years, and so the stormwater systems that are in the new subdivisions really performed very well. We didn't have the problems other towns around here had. Things held together pretty well, except in 2 or 3 locations. What people don't know is there was a big rain 2 days earlier. We got almost 3 inches of rain about 2 or 3 days earlier.
And that probably.
It made it worse.
Yeah.
Soils were saturated, so we had a lot of people getting seepage in their basements
Yes.
because the soil was already saturated.
Yeah. How many videos and everything did I see on social media?
Oh.
Things with people's, what do they call them? In their basements, where they have the windows in the basements, and
Yes.
watching those just burst into their basements.
Yes,
and
the window wells.
Yeah, the window wells.
Yep, ours was the same. Our house was the same thing.
Oh.
People tell you don't finish your basement, in Lake County. Well, yeah, we were right that day. But overall, we did okay, and we survived it. And it wasn't really a community-wide flood, which a lot of communities had. I mean, 2 towns, Libertyville and Mundland had a lot worse issues than we did. Same storm. So it was bad when you're going through it. The frustration is, from my perspective, is you can't do anything about it when it's happening. When it's snowing, you can at least attack it and do something about it. You couldn't do anything about this.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny because I'm a drone photographer that some of the best images. I shouldn't use the best. Some of the most stunning images that I have are from some of those events.
Yes. Yes.
And I think one of the videos in the historical society that we have of all the water that came through, and people swimming in J.C. Park, and probably swimming in a lot of places.
Which is that's a floodplain, so that's good. That's what you want. When they had the 1930s storm, all of Center Street was flooded.
Really?
So yeah,
did not know that.
This is, I think, a greater storm than that. The records aren't that good from back then, so we think this is the storm of record, they call it. But wasn't, because the village, after those events in the 50s and 60s, that we added storm sewers from the lake. So now the lake, if it gets to a certain point, it drains through a pipe that goes east from the lake down Park Avenue, and it's about almost 60-inch pipe. So you can almost walk standing up going through it.
Really?
But it goes down to the area where the nature walk's going to be, because that's a floodplain. So that is a safety valve for the downtown area, and that was not there then. So the water went wherever it went when it came out of the lake. So it would have been much worse had they not done that back then.
Right. So looking at storms like that actually teaches things and show us where it floods and where it doesn't. And sometimes probably looking at a map of drainage things probably doesn't work until you actually give it a test.
We tested it. We have drone footage of the day after, and you can really see how the stormwater system of ponds and land set aside and the creek and all the different things, how they all work together. It really was close, very close to having a lot more problems than we had, but we didn't. There was fish floating on Route 45.
I remember seeing photos of that. Wow.
That was Gage's Lake coming across. So that was coming from the east.
Wow.
So Grayslake is. What happens here is it comes from the west to the east generally,
right,
and then goes north under Washington Street and north into Third Lake and then Fourth Lake and so on, all the way to the Des Plaines River is where it all goes.
Wow.
So if it all works, so when we had the problems, they like road flooding and things, it gradually worked west to east. It was interesting to watch.
Huh. Well, and so obviously we've learned from that, and we're
Yes.
prepared for. Well, I mean, you never know how much rain
what
we're
we
going to
can
get.
do.
Right.
We're pretty resilient, as it turns out.
Right. I'm still building an ark in the backyard. It was
That
only
might be a
half
good
time
idea.
from that day.
Did you get a building permit for that?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would like to go in front of a board and explain why I'm building an ark.
I'm sure you'll need a variance for something.
Right. And you were talking about like Third Lake and Fourth Lake and how those things come. I've always had a question I've never got to ask anybody. Where's Second Lake?
I have no idea. When I got here,
Is there a second one?
I think there is, or there was. I mean, it must have been something small, but I don't know. I don't know where the first lake is either, unless it's Lake Michigan.
That's true. Maybe some guy missing fingers was counting those or something. I just got to third and fourth. I'm sorry if you are and you're listening.
If it was a bigger, maybe they thought it was bigger, 2, 3. Woo,
right. They make it sound more important.
I don't know.
So those three major events.
Yes. And the blizzard we had, 2011, 25-inch blizzard. Yeah, that I think is a record too.
Wow.
So that one was, again, that all came from midnight till 10 a.m. So it all came at once, and so there's no place to put the stuff. There's so much of it, and that was early February. So
that fall under your duties as well as snow removal?
No, yeah, Public Works. So yes, and so we had a plan there for that, because the good thing about snow, usually you know it's coming, so you can plan for it. So
sure.
We planned for that. We doubled the amount of equipment we had available with our contractors. That's an advantage of using contractors. You can just add capacity.
Right.
So it made a difference. And we paid a lot of money for it, but we had all our streets open by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So a lot of towns were going 4 or 5 days later, hadn't even gotten to streets. So because they were kind of stuck with their same amount of equipment, we were able to add to it. And we didn't stop. We kept plowing overnight, and a lot of jurisdictions stopped. We just said, we can't go. We have to stop. We just kept going. We just slowed down. But just being out there, as I said, you can attack it. You can stay with it and work at it.
Right.
So.
Well, you bring a lot of good points to everything that makes me think about a lot of things about all the good that the people in our town do, and
yes,
because your job goes all over the place, and I'm sure with events like that are either weather events, it's just not one thing you're worried about. You have your hands and you're in charge of all these multiple things that go together.
Yes.
So you never, I'm sure, have you ever gotten an email with a complaint from anybody?
No, never.
I mean, with constructive criticism?
Yeah, I mean, again, I get constructive criticism all the time. That's good. I don't mind it. People get frustrated when you get in those storms like that, and there's good reason to be frustrated. People don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. So we're handy. We're local government, so we're handy. And you're correct that the village is not a single-purpose district here. It's like running 4 or 5 or 6 different companies is what it is.
Okay.
And so you have to be aware, and the different pieces of different businesses you run don't always work harmoniously with the other pieces, because weather obviously hurts police response. So, and causes the need for police responses. So sometimes they connect, sometimes they don't. You got to sort all those out, and that not just in the storms, but every day.
Right. So with that being said, with your job, so with all of these things, if this was a company that had all of these different companies that you were running, what would your title be?
I don't know. Probably a company manager. Probably, I don't know. You have your chief operating officer. I guess that would probably be it. I mean, the mayor's the chief executive here, so.
Right.
He's, as you know, part-time, so a lot of the day-to-day stuff comes to me. So I guess chief operating officer would probably be what you call it.
Because this has been a full-time job for a very long time.
Yeah, almost 40 years. So.
Oh my gosh! So how much longer?
Don't know. I haven't put a date on it yet. So.
Okay.
But I don't think it's far off. Let's say it's less time than's gone by. How's that?
Okay. Hopefully it's not another 40 years.
No, pretty sure it's not going to be.
That would be really hard to do. So people that are listening to this from Grayslake, is there anything else that you would like to let them know, to inform them either A, about maybe some of your job duties that you do, or any other plans or anything exciting? I know we've covered a lot of stuff.
Not really, other than, and I had my History Maker Award. I concluded with I asked a question that I already knew the answer for, and that's, isn't Grayslake great? It is great.
That's great.
Enjoy living here, enjoy being here. There's always things that could be better, but enjoy it. It's a good place. If people are here, I hope they feel that way.
Yeah, and I think they do. And I think that's the reason that everyone keeps coming here, and people that don't even live here like to come and enjoy our downtown and enjoy everything. So it's a testament to all the hard work that you and all your committees and everybody's done over a long period of time. So
takes a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for all of your service and your help.
Thanks.
You've done a great job.
Thank you.
And I appreciate taking the time to be with me today.
It's great.
It's kind of fun.
We finally got together.
Exactly. After I can return an email.
Yeah.
So,
you can blame Bill now. So.
Right. Now I'll yell at him wherever he may be in the world today. So Grayslake, thank you so much for for listening, and taking the time to listen to gentlemen like Mike Ellis and the mayor and everything. And I know we've done a lot of more on the political side of the governmental side of things than I ever planned on doing, but I actually have gotten more fascinated with how our town actually runs.
Good.
And the respect that people should give to the people that really are putting their heart and soul into helping our town be better. So Grayslake, thank you so much for listening. No matter where you guys are listening, whether you're on Spotify, whether you're on Apple, whether you're on YouTube, wherever you're at, please do subscribe, because the reason that we did this was to build community and bring people closer together and maybe understand more about how our town works and what makes it so great. So wherever that, you'll get notified every week of a new episode coming out, and I definitely tell you to listen to people that you don't know, because that way you'll get to know things that we don't know what we don't know. So I think it just brings everybody together. Make sure you shop local, support our local businesses. And I challenge everybody to do one random act of kindness today. We never know what our neighbors are going through, so sometimes they're having a bad day like you. So if you just do one random act of kindness, that kindness spreads like wildfire and brings our community closer together. Wow, early in the morning, those words kind of all run together for me. So once again, thank you, Mike Ellis, for being here.
Thanks, Dave.
And Grayslake, we'll see you next Tuesday.